So I'm deep in launch design mode, and this is a little bit meta because I am digging deep on copy. And when you design a launch or a marketing campaign, the first thing you have to do is really focus on who you're trying to reach, who your avatar is, what are their hopes or dreams, what keeps them awake at night, what is the inner dialogue going on in their head, why should they care about what your offer is, and one of the most important things is what is their relationship to you. So in this digital world, the relationship is usually not a personal relationship. Sometimes it is, but in this digital world, it's how have they been consuming your material? What do they feel about you? What is your positioning with them? So the meta piece of this is this campaign I am designing for is one of mine. It's something I've never offered before. I'm probably never going to offer it again, but it's for a workshop I'm calling Advanced Campaign Design. And it's going to be very, very small. It's going to be for 12 people at my secret headquarters. I've got a big conference table there, and we're all going to sit around that conference table. And in real time, we are going to work on creating amazing launch campaigns, marketing campaigns. And we're going to go deep. Obviously, I've been teaching launches forever. I've got the #1 bestseller launch, New York Times #1 bestseller book, and we've sold hundreds of thousands of copies of that book. I've been selling my product launch formula training for years, but this is going to be a little bit different. This is going to be 12 of us around the table. Actually, it might only be 10. I've got to go, it's a big conference table, but I've actually got to go measure it out and see exactly how many we can seat there. So it's going to be 10 or 12 people around the table. It's going to be me and what I call my marketing brain trust. That's a couple people on my team, and the three of us design all of our launches and all of our campaigns. There's a lot more people on the team that help out in all kinds of ways in the campaigns, but it's the three of us that are really coming up with the nitty gritty, what I call the flows of a campaign. And that is where the emails are going to and how you're directing people through your pre-launch content and how you're leading them up to the offer. So we're going to sit around the conference table, and we're going to it's not going to be me lecturing. We're actually going to be designing these campaigns and these launches in real time at the conference table. So I am just deep into the construction of this campaign. It's going to be a very simple campaign. And that's why I say this to you. So if you've been in my world for a while, you might have seen my launch masterclass. And that's a real big deal. It takes it's about 2 weeks long. We usually do it in August. That's when we're going to do it this year. And that's where I teach and I teach and I teach. And then I make an offer for my product launch formula coaching program. So it's a very expansive process. There's several live sessions, there's video trainings, there's PDFs, all kinds of stuff, lots of moving parts. Now, this one, when there's only going to be 10 or 12 of us around the table, is a much simpler campaign because, well, even though it's going to be a lot more expensive than the investment's going, let's put it that way, the investment is going to be a lot larger than for my product launch formula coaching program. The fact is, this is for advanced level people who already have a launch that they're going to be doing, probably have done launches before. They have a campaign they're ready to put together. They've got a list, they've got assets, and they realize that getting the most out of the launch will make a huge difference. Those small hinges that swing big doors, those few small little tweaks. Like, for instance, lots of times people like to put a webinar in the midst of their open cart. Okay, so if you have a webinar, when do you start mailing your launch list about that webinar? And do you get people to register? Do they have to register again for the webinar, even though they're already in your sequence? And should you have a fast action bonus on that webinar? And if you have a fast action bonus, what should the deadline be for that fast action bonus? And oh, by the way, what should you teach and what shouldn't you teach in a webinar during open cart that is different from a webinar that might happen before you open cart. Those are what I call in my head, I call them the flows. It's like what you're putting in front of your people at what time in your campaign is absolutely critical. These things are so granular that I can't teach them in product launch formula because they're so varied by the specific situation. And that's what we're going to dig into when we get into this workshop. So anyways, I was talking about the meta piece. The campaign for this is going to be super, super simple. I am going to have basically a very short sales letter, and that's going to lead into an application. And the application, depending on what I get back in those applications, might or might not lead to a phone call or just to an order form. And it's that simple because I only need to reach, well, it's either going to be 10 or 12 people. And by the way, a few of those spots are already taken by the folks in my mastermind. So it's a very, very small number of spots. And it's people that are generally at a very high level. This isn't a newbie program. It's not for people that are just starting out. It's not where you're going to design your first campaign, your first launch. So because it's so much simpler, because it is to such a small part of my audience, and because I'm looking for just a few people to join me in this workshop, I don't have to work that hard. In other words, I think I've got an understanding of who my avatar is, and I have an understanding of the scarcity, frankly, that I've got, and the number of people that might want to come. So for me, this process is more about disqualifying people, about only getting the right people in to the event. And that's why we're doing this application. So that's what's happening in my world. I spent the last few days sitting down writing copy. It's fun to write copy, especially for this kind of offer. There's so much authority, so much scarcity, and it's going to just lead to this awesome workshop. So that's me. I actually was up at 5 this morning, had the headphones on, had the binaural beats going, just had that focus mode locked down, cranking away on copy. And after all these years, the ability to sit down and craft a campaign. I put a PS in the sales letter. It's about Paul McCartney once said that him and John Lennon would sit down, and John Lennon would say, "Hey, let's write a swimming pool." When they went to write a song, let's write a swimming pool, because they knew that when they sat down and wrote a great song, that it was going to turn into money for them. And that's the deal. When you create a great marketing campaign, it turns into money for you. And it is an incredible skill and an incredible capability. So to be able to sit down at my computer at 5 in the morning, just type some words on the page and know that that's going to turn into money, that it's like magic. It is like magic. And that's actually what we're going to be teaching at Advanced Campaign Design. It's going to come up in a couple of months, and we're going to do it in June here at my secret headquarters in Durango, Colorado. It's going to be awesome. And so I'm Jeff Walker. Scroll down, leave a comment for me, and let's go get him this week.